conversation so we can get started. Everyone find a seat. Welcome. Good evening. As chair of the commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 5:04 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they currently are using, please visit our social media at Redistricting Michigan to find the link for viewing on YouTube. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. Closed captioning, ASL interpretation, and Spanish and Arabic translation services will be provided for effective participation in this meeting. Email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for additional viewing options or details on accessing language translation services for this meeting. People with disabilities needing other specific accommodations should also contact redistricting@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed, and those transcriptions will be made available and posted on michigan.gov/MICRC, along with written public comment submissions. There is also a public comment portal that may be accessed by visiting michigan.gov/MICRC. This portal can be utilized to post maps and comments, which can be viewed by the commission and the public. Members of the media who may have questions before, during, or after the meeting should direct those questions to Edward Woods III, our Communications and Outreach Director for the Commission, at woodse3@michigan.gov. For the purposes of the public watching and public record, I will turn to the Michigan Department of State staff to take note of the commissioners present.
Good evening, commissioners. Please say present when I call your name. If you are attending the meeting remotely, please announce during roll call that you are attending the meeting remotely, and unless your absence is due to military duty, announce your physical location by stating the county, city, township, or village, and the state from which you are attending the meeting remotely. I'll start with Doug Clark.
Present.
Juanita Curry. Anthony Eade.
Present.
Brittany Kellum.
Present.
Rhonda Lang.
Present, attending remotely from Reed City, Michigan.
Steve Lett.
Present.
Cynthia Orton.
Present.
MC Rothhorn.
Present.
Rebecca Satella. Present. Janice Follett.
Present.
Aaron Wagner.
Present, attending remotely from Charlotte, Michigan.
Richard Weiss.
Present.
Dustin Witches.
Present.
12 commissioners are present and there is a quorum.
Thank you, Michigan Department of State staff. And now we'll have our welcome and introductions. If there are no objections, hearing no objections, we'll have our Commissioner Clark come to us and share a presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Douglas Clark. I'm one of the 13 commissioners, and I reside in Rochester Hills, Michigan. So welcome to the MICRC public hearing here in Pontiac. And I know a lot of you are from Rochester, Rochester Hills, Troy, Oakland Township, as well as Pontiac. But we're pleased to have you here, and it's a real pleasure for us. We're happy you are here to learn about Michigan's new redistricting process and how you can engage throughout this process to ensure your voice is heard. In looking at the agenda, please note that the vast majority of our time this evening is spent listening to you. We are eager to hear your ideas either in person or remotely about the drawing of Michigan's Congressional, their House, and their Senate districts. In addition to hearing about district lines, we also want to hear your ideas about communities of interest. In 2018, more than 61% of Michigan voters intentionally and deliberately passed Proposal 2, a ballot initiative for voters and not legislatures to take responsibility for map fairness and public feedback in the redistricting process, and created the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. For the first time in Michigan's history, the MICRC will lead the redistricting process to draw fair and independent maps. A little more about the history. We are comprised of 13 randomly selected Michigan residents that include 4 Republicans, 4 Democrats, and 5 nonpartisan individuals. And they were selected through a lottery that was run by the Department of State of Michigan. The MICRC has the exclusive authority in this new redistricting process for Michigan's Congressional, House, and Senate districts. As fellow residents, the MICRC understands your expectations to draw maps in an open and transparent manner that meets constitutional mandates. Our mission and vision exemplifies our resolve, not just for today, but for future generations as well. In your interaction with the MICRC and its staff, you should witness the core values of integrity, respect, transparency, and being purposeful. Once again, we're glad that you're here, and we look forward to hearing from you this evening. At this point, I would like to introduce the commissioners, and why don't we start with Brittany, and we'll run down the table and then back up this table, and then we'll handle the 2 that are with us remotely.
Again, hello, everyone. My name is Brittany Kellum, and I reside in Detroit, Michigan. I've been a native Detroiter my whole life.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Zatella. I live in Canton, Michigan.
Hello, Pontiac. Thank you for having us here today. My name's Anthony Eade, and I'm from Orchard Lake.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Janice Follett, and I live in Highland Township, Michigan.
Good evening. It's great to see everyone tonight. I'm Cynthia Orton, and I live in Battle Creek.
Good evening. My name is MC Rothhorn, and I live in Lansing, Michigan. Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks everyone for coming. My name is Dustin Witches. I am from Ypsilanti or Howell, depending on what day of the week it is. So.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see each of you. Such a nice crowd tonight. My name is Juanita Curry, and I reside in Detroit, Michigan.
Good evening. I'm glad to see that you're here tonight so we can hear your opinions. My name is Richard H. Weiss. I live in Saginaw Township in Saginaw, Michigan.
Good evening and welcome to the MICRC. My name is Stephen Lett, and I am from Interlochen, Michigan, which is up by Traverse City for those that don't know.
We also have with us 2 of the commissioners that are remote. Why don't we start with Rhonda?
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name's Rhonda Lang, and I am from Reed City, Michigan.
And then Aaron, please.
I'm sorry. Hello, everyone. My name is Erin Wagner, and I live in Charlotte, Michigan. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, and I'll yield back to Chairman Kellum.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Clark. We'll move to hear a little bit more about the public hearings and the purpose while we're here this evening. And if I don't hear any objections, hearing no objections, we'll have Commissioner and Vice Chair Zatella talk to us about public hearings.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Commissioner Kellum. My name is Rebecca Zatella, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the purpose of this public hearing. So to ensure fair and impartial maps, the MICRC is required to solicit public input before drawing any redistricting plan for the Michigan Congressional, House, and Senate districts through a minimum of 10 public hearings across the state. We're actually doing 16, and this Pontiac hearing represents number 10 of 16 public hearings. Per the Michigan Constitution, the purposes of the public hearings are to inform the public about the redistricting process, to share the purpose and responsibilities of the commission, and to solicit information from you about potential redistricting plans for Michigan's congressional, House, and Senate districts. So what is redistricting? Every 10 years following a U.S. Census, district lines for U.S. Congressional, State House, and State Senate must be redrawn in states across the country to accurately reflect the populations. The process of drawing district lines is known as redistricting. In Michigan, here are the district lines that need to be redrawn for the 2022 election cycle. The first is going to be the Michigan Congressional, which will have 13 districts. The second is the Michigan Senate, which will have 38 districts. Lastly, we will have the Michigan House, which will have 110 districts. The MICRC is the sole entity responsible for drawing the district lines. The MICRC operates in an impartial and transparent process to instill integrity in the redistricting process. The MICRC's public outreach represents fairness, awareness, transparency, and engagement that seeks to obtain at least 10,000 distinct public comments in the redistricting process. The MICRC must adopt maps for Michigan's 13 congressional, 38 Senate, and 110 House districts. The districts should be drawn to meet applicable federal and state laws, including the Voters' Rights Act. As mandated by the U.S. Constitution, equal population refers to the amount of people in the district. Other redistricting criteria that we are required to consider is that the districts be geographically contiguous, that we have to consider communities of interest, and I'll touch on that a bit in the next slide. Numbers 4 and 5 relate to political parties. We can't give a disproportionate advantage to any political party, and we can't favor or disfavor any incumbent elected official or candidate for office. We also have to reflect consideration of county, city, and township boundaries. And lastly, we need to try to keep our districts reasonably compact. So what are communities of interest? Communities of interest include, but aren't limited to, populations that share cultural or historic characteristics or economic interests. They do not include relationships with political parties, incumbents, or candidates. So a community of interest could include something like an arts district, a neighborhood, maybe a school district, particular agricultural communities, like maybe cherry producers, waterfront communities, and so much more. So you get to define what the community of interest is and share it with the commission. So what does the MICRC want to know about your community of interest? We want to know what the name is that you would give your community. We want to know what the common bond is that creates your community's shared identity. We also would like to know the geographic area covered by your community. What government policies are important to your community, and how would keeping your community intact enhance the quality of your representation in Congress or the Michigan legislature? Lastly, we want to know if there are nearby areas that strengthen or potentially weaken your community of interest. So why are we here? The MICRC is here to hear directly from you about your ideas to redistrict Michigan's congressional, House, and Senate districts. We want to learn about your communities of interest throughout the state of Michigan. Why should you care about redistricting? For the first time ever, Michigan residents have a say in the redistricting process. Openness, transparency, and public engagement represent the principles of this new redistricting process. As the third ranked criteria in the redistricting process, communities of interest also have a voice for the first time to prevent gerrymandering. I'd now like to pass it back to our chair, Brittany Kellum.
Thank you, Commissioner Zatella. Our next item on today's agenda is the public comment guidelines. Hearing no objection, or if there are no objections, I will have our general counsel talk to us about public comment guidelines. Hearing none, General Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and good evening, Pontiac. Thank you for being here tonight and welcoming us. As Brittany indicated, as Commissioner Kellum indicated, my name is Julianne Pastula. I'm the counsel for the commission, and I would like to briefly cover the public comment guidelines for you this evening. First, in-person public comments will take place first, but followed by our remote public comment participants. The time limit for each public comment speaker is 2 minutes. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the timer, and there will also be in addition to the audible timer, there will also be a visual countdown timer on the screens on either side of the stage. If any person disrupts the orderly progress of this meeting or refuses to comply with applicable MICRC guidelines and rules, the chairperson may rule that person out of order and/or order their removal from this meeting. Please provide public comment and/or submit your proposed maps in the public comment portal, which is available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. Thank you again for the opportunity, and we look forward to hearing from each and every one of you.
Thank you, General Counsel, for providing that information to our guests and for reminding us the procedure about public comment. Without objection, we'll now begin the public comment portion for our evening and our meeting. Hearing no objection, we'll proceed with public comment. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide in-person public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. You'll step to the nearest microphone when I call your number. You'll have 2 minutes, as General Counsel just stated, to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when your 2 minutes has ended and you hear the timer. We are not in the business of interrupting folks, but if you hear the timer and you wrap up your sentence and you begin a whole new wonderful thought, then you might hear my voice. You won't hear the timer again, but you'll hear my voice to remind you that your allotted 2 minutes has ended. And go to our public comment tool and share your comments in writing, including any specific area of the map that you'll speak about, or any specific area of interest that you would want us to know more about. Please visit our public comment tool to do so. If you're sitting there and you change your mind about speaking, or you're not speaking this evening but have something to share, go online to www.michigan.gov/MICRC and share with us on first in line. And we're kind of a tight group here, so sometimes I call 4 numbers and folks stand in line. Don't feel like you have to stand in line, but for tonight, you'll just step to the microphone to the left or my right, whichever is closest to you. So number 1, if you are ready and present, you can step to the microphone that's closest to you. Hi.
Hi, good evening. I'm Teresa Mangioli, and I am from Rochester Hills here in Oakland County. Thank you, all of you, for the work that you're doing to listen to the voices of the residents in this redistricting process. Rochester Hills shares a deep history with its surrounding communities, especially Rochester and Oakland Township. This history traces back to 1817, when these communities were first settled, and continues even today. Rochester Hills, along with Rochester and Oakland Township, have many interlocal and tri-party agreements that cover a range of organizations, including, but not limited to, the Older Persons Commission, the Rochester Hills Public Library, many local trail commissions, the Rochester Avon Recreation Authority, and the Rochester Area Youth Assistance. Other community organizations, such as the Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce, covers Rochester Hills, Rochester, and Oakland Township businesses. The Rochester Community School District covers Rochester Hills, Rochester, Oakland Township, and many other communities. Our faith community is extensive, and the 3 Catholic churches in Rochester, Rochester Hills are grouped together by the Archdiocese of Detroit to provide coordinated services to our communities. And even the post office provides only 1 mailing designation for Rochester, even with several zip codes covering those 3 communities. The Rochester area is how we describe our home and our neighboring communities. It is the place my family has called home for 34 years due to its wonderful programs, services, and common bonds. Please keep Rochester Hills as one community when redistricting, and keep us together with Rochester and Oakland Township. Please recognize our shared history and our vision for working together in support of our residents and businesses. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you so much for addressing the commission this evening, too.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for your time. My name is Kimberly Orwiller from Troy, Michigan in Oakland County. I am a board member of the Troy Newcomers Club. Okay, a board member in Troy Newcomers Club, a nonprofit organization. This club was founded in 1970 and has been active in the Troy community for 50 years. The purpose of the club is to take an active interest in the social and civic welfare of the Troy community. The club is socially active in Troy's golf courses, having 2 leagues, a bowling league, monthly lunches, and many socials around town. Troy newcomers have contributed charitable donations to Troy Union Elementary during their Christmas tree giving time. Troy Community Center, the cakes were baked for the senior birthdays. Friends of Foster Kids for the Oakland County area during Christmas. We also have Michigan Humane Society Food Bank, Rochester Neighborhood House during Thanksgiving, and many, many more. I have been personally involved with those social and charitable events throughout Troy. This is my community interest. I am asking the commissioner or commission to keep districts square and compact as they go through their redistributing process. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come out and address the commission. 3.
I am David Sampson, 5752 Southward Ave, Waterford, Michigan, 48329. I'm speaking about and I'm a member of Waterford Recreation Center, 5640 Williams Lake Road. This Waterford Recreation Center has political speakers as well as card playing and other games, including sports. The area is all of Waterford, as well as a few people that are from Clarkston. Even though I am participating, this process I view as divisive. This may cause maps created by you, the MICRC, to be rejected by the courts and replaced by more gerrymandered maps. Important is equal population size districts. Also, not concave districts. A line drawn across a district should not cross another district. Remember, every city or house divided against itself will not stand. Help retain Waterford as one community. Thank you.
David, thank you for taking the time to come and address the commission. 4.
I'm Diane Anderson. Free and fair elections are the bedrock upon which democracies are built. Gerrymandering undermines that foundation. The 14th Congressional District is one of the 3 most gerrymandered districts in the United States. In a cynical move, knowing that the majority of African-American voters vote Democrat, the Republicans created a serpent-like district, hoping to expunge the bulk of the African-American vote from Oakland County. They took out the Black city of Pontiac, scooped around with a crescent-shaped moon to take African-American voters out of West Bluefield and Farmington Hills. Then they scooped down to take the majority Black city of Lathrop Village and the majority Black city of Southfield and send it south into majority Black Detroit. My Lathrop Village roots go back to 1951. Lathrop's in my DNA. And throughout my 72 years, election districts in Oakland County were a north-south orientation. I am asking you, when you look at these maps in Oakland County, to remember in Oakland County, a north-south orientation is the fair way to go. Had that been done with the 14th, those Black voters in Lathrop and Southfield would have been part of a district that included the Caucasian cities, predominantly of Beverly Hills and Birmingham. Their votes would have been taken more seriously. As I've said before, free and fair elections are the bedrock upon which democracies are founded, and fair election maps are the basis for that democracy.
Diane, thank you for taking the time to come and share your comments with the commission. 5.
Good afternoon. My name is Lorenzo Rivera. I'm from Oxford, Michigan. Surrounding area, the 8th Congressional District. And the reason I'm just here trying to learn, educate myself, and find out hopefully what we voted for this commission to be put in place is to create fair and competitive map for our voters. I hope that as you move forward, that you continue to look at compact district and borderlines, and like other speakers have said before, hopefully we'll stop separating communities to take advantage or disadvantage the voters, not the candidates. I thank you for your time and I appreciate the invite. Thank you.
Lorenzo, we appreciate you and you coming to share your comments with the commission. 6.
Over here.
Yep.
My name is Gary Moorhead and I live in Auburn Hills. First, thank all of you commissioners for your hard work. You're doing a great job for everybody. And here's a special shout out to Commissioner Clark for a great presentation at the Clarkston Library on Monday. He won over a crowd that was very skeptical about this commission. He did a great job. Second, please maximize the number of competitive districts at every level. Start fresh, draw new maps. The old maps were a partisan gerrymander. Nationally, 85% of congressional districts are not competitive. We see what that's doing. And 40% of state legislative races have only one candidate as a result of gerrymandering. This commission was created to end that kind of thing. Please also bear in mind that the terms rural and urban can be code for party identification. If you can respect communities of interest while also drawing districts that don't pack and confirm people in their partisan echo chambers, which is very unhealthy for democracy. Use census data on commuting patterns. Agricultural communities work on and near farms. Commuter communities don't. Third, please count partisan prisoners, incarcerated people in their hometowns, which is where they live, which is where they will live unless convicted, or would be most likely to vote after serving a sentence. Finally, my COI. Bouncing back from loss of industry is the common bond shared by Pontiac, Flint, and the areas around and between them where many of their workers live. Putting these communities together in a congressional district would enhance representation for their rebuilding and with a focus on jobs for people who work in those cities, including those who live outside them. If Pontiac and surroundings are included in a Detroit metro area district, its unique interests as a rebuilding smaller urban center are more likely to be overlooked. Thank you for allowing me to comment.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share your comment with the commission, and we appreciate you giving a shout out to Commissioner Clark. 7.
First, I'd like to thank the commission for allowing me to speak tonight and for their time and dedication to this project. My name is Barb Yeagley. I live in I live in Troy, Michigan, Oakland County. Maybe I should actually speak instead of read. I've lived there for 18 years. I've spent better part of 40 years within a 5-mile radius of my current home. I plan on staying in that home for as long as I'm physically capable of doing it. Troy is not just my community of interest or my community, it's my home. And I may be biased, but I think it's a very good place to live. We have our own city government. We have our own fire department and police department. We have our own school system, our own library. We have hospitals that handle the area. And I believe that as Troy currently exists, it is both a diverse and well-run area, community. I believe breaking it up would be detrimental to the organizations, the citizens, and serve no positive purpose. I urge the commission to leave Troy as it currently is. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission. 8.
Hello, my name is William Asher. I'm an elected precinct delegate from Royal Oak to the Oakland County Democratic Convention. I tell you this to provide full disclosure of my background and possible biases. First of all, thank you all for volunteering to be members of this commission. Its constitutional mandate to redraw districts independently is one of the most important tasks in our state. I've lived in Michigan for 30 years and have been appalled by the discrepancies in representation in that time. In this century alone, since the last two Republican gerrymander redistricting efforts, Republicans running for state house collectively won more votes than Democrats 3 times, but amazingly won a majority of seats 8 times. The state Senate has stayed in Republican control that entire time, despite Democrats winning the aggregate votes. Similar disparities have occurred to a lesser extent among the Michigan delegation to the U.S. House of Representatives. This is all because of unfair gerrymandering of districts in which Democrats have been shoehorned as the supermajority into a few oddly shaped districts, like my own, which is District 9, giving Republicans a majority in many more districts. I'm here to ask you to fulfill the constitutional mandate of your commission by redrawing districts fairly and ending the partisan engineered districts we have lived with all these years. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now that I see we have someone cleaning the mics, hear me out. This is what we're going to do. So we're going to have the odds go to this side, and then the evens will go to this side. However, if it's still easier for you to get to the mic that's closest to you, that's what I want you to do. So 9, I'm calling you. And when you're ready, you can begin addressing the commission.
Thank you so much. Thank you for allowing me to speak. And I want to welcome everyone here to Pontiac, Michigan. My name is Mary Ann Fontana, and I live in Huntington Woods, Michigan. As it's already been stated by one of the commissioners, in 2018, 61% of Michigan voters passed the Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission initiative. As you know, your mission is to draw fair U.S. congressional and state legislative maps. This is something that hasn't happened in our state for a very long time. I have been a resident of Huntington Woods for 37 years. As long as I can remember, I've always been represented by Democrats. While on the one hand, that should make me happy, and it does since I am a Democrat, full disclosure, I've also come to realize that my district has been packed along with other inner ring suburbs to cram as many Democrats as possible into as few districts as possible. My understanding is that Michigan is fairly evenly split between Republicans and Democrats, with Democrats getting more votes statewide 5 of the 10 elections since 2000. But we have been in the minority 8 times. This doesn't make sense unless you start to look at our gerrymandered partisan maps, which Republican-controlled legislatures have drawn for the better part of the last 20 years. If we had fairly drawn maps, many more of our districts would be competitive, which to me actually means that we, the voters, get to choose our politicians rather than the politicians choosing their voters. And that would also mean that maybe our politicians would listen to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission. 10.
Good evening. My name is Elena Campbell, and I'm president of the Rochester Regional Chamber of Commerce. First, thank you, all of you up there at the table, for what you're doing. You have a big task ahead of you and a lot of people very interested in seeing it come out successfully. So thank you for your time. Given that the intent of a community of interest is to keep communities with similar non-political interests together in one election district, the Rochester Regional Chamber of Commerce recommends that the commission consider Rochester, Rochester Hills, and Oakland Township a community of interest. The chamber has served businesses in these 3 communities for decades, since 1955, as has the OPC, the Older Persons Commission, the Rochester Community School District, and as mentioned before, even the United States Post Office. All 3 communities consider downtown Rochester to be their downtown. For 70 years, the Rochester Regional Chamber has produced the Rochester Area Hometown Christmas Parade, one of the largest Christmas parades in the state. This parade starts in Rochester Hills, almost to the border of Oakland Township, and the parade ends in downtown Rochester. It includes civic organizations, businesses, and community groups from all three communities. The City of Rochester and Rochester Hills both assist in supporting this important community event and publicize it widely. Similarly, the Chamber assists with the Memorial Day Parade. This parade starts in Rochester Hills and ends in Oakland Township and includes representatives from all three communities on the planning committee. The Chamber also holds an annual Community Outlook Breakfast featuring community updates from the Mayor of Rochester, the Mayor of Rochester Hills, the Oakland Township Supervisor, and the Superintendent for Rochester Community Schools. Clearly, we are close partners and collaborators, all working together to serve our community. So we recommend Rochester, Rochester Hills, and Oakland Township be included together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Campbell, for taking the time to share your thoughts with the commission. 11.
Thank you, commission members. My name is Michael Weber, and I am from the city of Rochester Hills, a 30-year resident of the city of Rochester Hills. And that is my community of interest, is the greater Rochester area. So similar to a couple of the other speakers, Rochester, Rochester Hills, and Oakland Township working together on a number of different fronts, providing services, providing programs for residents and taxpayers in those areas. The one school district, Rochester Community Schools. My wife and I went there. My son, James, is now attending Rochester Community Schools. We have one regional chamber of commerce, as we heard from Elena here, one youth recreational authority known as RARA. We have one public library. The library is called the Rochester Hills Public Library. It's in the heart of the downtown Rochester. And we also have one state-of-the-art senior center, the Older Persons Commission building. I had the opportunity to serve on that board for 5 years, and the board is comprised of, you guessed it, residents in representation from Oakland Township, Rochester, and Rochester Hills. So, and the list really goes on, but so I would just hope that the commission, and you guys are doing a great job. I've been watching some of the meetings. I know the work that is being being put into this, that you really take that into account and not split up those communities as best as possible. So thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission. We appreciate you. 12.
Hi, my name is Judy Tully, and my purpose today is to describe the city of the village of Clarkston and the townships of Independence, Springfield, and White Lake as a community of interest, and ask for your consideration to create a Michigan House district. These communities are similar in that they are low to moderately populated, have large parcels preserved as parks, multiple lakes for recreation and shopping areas that generally focus on serving the local population. Community boundaries are contiguous. Clarkston is surrounded on all sides by Independence Township. Springfield and Independence, and Springfield and White Lake each share a border. The school district ties the communities together. The Clarkston School District, with one high school, a junior high school, and several elementary schools, serves Clarkston and Independence Township and portions of Springfield and White Lake Townships. All Independence Township parks and recreation programs, as well as Deer Lake Beach and Clintonwood Spray Park, extend resident rates to school district homeowners. The Clarkston Independence Township Library cooperates with all those in the Clarkston School District for free library cards. In terms of senior citizens, the Independent Senior Community Center extends resident rates to Clarkston and Springfield Township for fee purposes. Transportation services serve residents over 55 and 18 and above with physical or mental disabilities. In terms of the business community, Clarkston, Independence, and Springfield are members of the Clarkston Chamber of Commerce. All the communities except White Lake contract with the Oakland County Sheriff for police protection. In summary, these communities are similar in composition and cooperate in several ways that benefit their residents, and therefore a community of interest and potentially a Michigan House district. Thank you.
Judy, thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts with the commission. 13.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I am Kermit Williams. I am the Pontiac City Council President, and I wanted to welcome the commission here. I'm so glad that you guys decided to add extra meetings to listen to the people and look at the turnout that you have in this room. The one thing I just wanted to say really briefly is please start fresh. The people elected you to do something brand new. And so I know it's going to be hard. I know it's going to be tough, but I want to encourage you guys to be bold, to work as a commission together to make some lines that will work for all of the people of the state of Michigan and not just a select few. And so again, I want to thank you for hosting this meeting. I'll give a couple of minutes back because I know you have a lot of people to hear from today, but I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and the people believe in what you're doing. So please be bold and start fresh.
Thank you for your passionate and warm welcome. We appreciate you. 14.
Good evening. My name is Tamika Ramsey, and I'm a current resident of the city of Pontiac. Thank you all for listening and going on this statewide tour. I know it has to be a lot. Thank you for adding Pontiac as a stop. We are very committed to elected officials. And so I just wanted to say, one, the old maps are gerrymandered. So if we start from there, we're starting from a bad place anyway. So if we can just erase that and start over. I've also heard urban and rural being used is also code for black and white. I don't want anyone to put Pontiac in a place where it is very compartmentalized and we don't get the resources that we need. We are rebuilding our city. We are rebuilding our community, and we know that we need our surrounding areas. When you put us in the same areas as downriver, I feel like our voice is less heard because they're so much more static. And even if our elected official is doing their job, they're just spread way too thin. My mother and father moved here from Mississippi, and they moved to Michigan for a better life. My father worked at General Motors, and they're very committed to the survival of their family, of their generations. And if we continue to make elected officials hold the power over us, then we constantly lose. So I am asking that we start brand new, that we don't get in a race war and put all the black and brown people in one area and all the white people in another area. That's just not how life is here. And that we also are committed to making sure that we're hearing and listening everyone. Thank you.
Tamika, thank you so much for coming and sharing your comments with the commission. We appreciate you. 15.
Herbie from Detroit. A commission solution. Do nothing except minimum. Better to be a tortoise than a bull in a china shop rabbit. So what if it takes 3 or 4 commission cycles to get there? Always remember that you're in the middle of a civil war between those who would keep our existing democracy that centers on we the people and those who would create an authoritarian government ran by fanatics who will eliminate freedoms, who push critical race theory in which all white people are racist and the only good racist is a dead racist, who use groups like Antifa as enforcers. If you are the rabbit, then prepare for the collateral damage, both personal and public. Your decisions will affect countless Michigan lives. Michigan is a swing state. Your decisions will affect the course of this country for generations to come. Your decisions will be the cutting edge between civil discourse and armed insurrection. Imagine the immense pressure put on you by both factions to present a plan that will make their party dominant for decades to come. How these factions will have protests in front of your home at 2 a.m., how they will harass your employer, call you racist in public, or publish your picture and label you insurrectionist. If you do not have the nerves of steel, a heart of stone, and the realization that your life is about to change forever, then I say either resign now or keep the same borders and allow yourself to fade away to a life not in shambles, but normalcy. Thank you.
Kirby, thank you for sharing your insights with the commission. It is our endeavor to not only stick together, but to build a map that is fair and transparent and represents the voices that we've heard over the course of us traveling through Michigan. So thanks for that reminder of the tough job that we have. 16.
Hi, my name is Terry Nalamoth, and I'm from Independence Township, Michigan, which most of the world seems to know as Clarkston. The village of Clarkston is in Independence Township. I'm asking you today to please consider keeping our township together when you redraw these maps. Our school district, actually, I could take Judy Tully's speech, so thank you for reiterating. Our school district does consider Springfield, White Lake, and part of Independence Township for our Clarkston School District. I would also ask that you don't split any townships. As far as Independence, we don't follow any of the North Oakland County Transportation Authority. Our township actually does our own senior citizen transportation. It was cheaper to do it that way. And I'm just here to ask that you don't split and please keep the municipalities together the way they are when you draw the new lines. And thank you for doing what you're doing. I'm sure it's very time consuming and labor intensive. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with the commission. We appreciate you. 17.
Good evening. My name is Mike Clement. I live in Birmingham. I also want to thank the commissioners for all your great work. It would seem to me what you need is a base map that you can then work on to finalize the map. My proposal is that you do a map that is the most compact. And there are computer programs that you can use. You don't have to draw it yourself. They'll draw it for you. It would then have to be checked against the legal criteria, for example, voting rights laws that protect minority communities. It has to meet those laws. It obviously also has to meet your other criteria, and we've heard a lot about communities of interest here tonight. Once you've done that, I think you're done. So my proposal is your process ought to be do a most compact map you can. That's actually required for the state Senate in the Michigan Constitution, and I know it's one of your criteria. Check it against the laws, check it against the other criteria, particularly the communities of interest that so many people have spoken about. When you're satisfied, I think you're done. It's a simple process. It's nonpartisan. It'll be easy to explain. Let me close with a question. Do any of you commissioners have a better plan? Hearing none, I assume you are accepting that as the plan. Is that satisfactory? I got 20 seconds left. Does anybody have a better plan?
Not yet, but we're going to work on it.
You're working on it. Thank you. If you would publicize on your website or communicate to the people of Michigan what your plan is and why it's better than a simple plan which just says make them compact, meet the law, meet the other criteria, particularly the communities of interest, I think that would be great. Thank you again for your service.
Thank you. Stay tuned because we, of course, will share everything with the public and you know, to be transparent, and we haven't drawn anything yet. 18.
Good evening, commissioners. I've decided that I'm going to be throwing out my pre-prepared little comments and map that I drew and just submit those as testimony on the Michigan mapping website, and instead address a couple of the things that people have brought up this evening, which I think could be clarified to give people a slightly better understanding of the situation. I would describe myself as an avid redistrictor. I've spent a lot of time going over Michigan and drawing a bunch of hypothetical maps, going from the state house level all the way up to the congressional. And something that folks really should be understanding is that when it comes to partisan fairness for a whole map, you are not going to be able to achieve that with the most compact lines possible. And you are not going to be able to draw maps that have decent population that also are following all of the school district lines and all of the municipal lines. And you can definitely get some good maps following municipal lines, and municipal lines are an important criteria. But remember that communities of interest are more important, and that there are communities of interest that are contained within small parts of municipalities and that cross municipalities. And if you are trying to get the maps to be drawn in a way that has municipal lines and compactness and square shapes be the kind of be all end all, you're not going to get a good map. It might look pretty. It might be a nice little set of blocks on the map, but from a representation standpoint, from a fairness standpoint, it's just not going to work well. So to the folks giving public comments, remember that, and it is important that your voices are heard. But again, this is a complicated process. So when the final map doesn't look like what you hope it is, understand that this is just how it is going to be, and it is the best that the commission could come up with. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission. 19.
Good evening. I thank everybody on the commission for volunteering to serve. My name is Suzanne Waldrop. I'm a precinct delegate, and I'm also a member of North Oakland Women Making a Difference. And I'm a resident of Orion Township, which is right here on the map of Oakland County. And I'm part of actually 2 gerrymandered districts. One is in Republican hands and one is in Democratic hands. And both, I think, need to be redrawn. I'm part of the 8th Congressional District, which starts in Lansing and snakes all the way over here to Orion Township and to Rochester to pick up white voters. And also part of the 46th Michigan House District. Our district, the 46th District, is so homogeneous that since it's been drawn, it's been in the possession of one political party, and that leaves 35 to 40% of its residents without ideological representation in the state. It would make more sense if we were part of what's below us, Auburn Hills and Pontiac and Waterford Township in that area. I think we have more in common in that area. I think we need to have not only, I understand communities of interest, but I think we also need to have diversity in our districts. And that's not only racially, but economically and ethnically, to have more fairness, to have people working together. And I hope that, you take that into consideration when you're redrawing the new maps. I hope you throw out the old maps and don't consider the old lines, but actually look at all those factors when you're drawing the new districts. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to come out to address the commission. 20.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Lori Skibo. I'm a resident of Groveland Township, which is located as far north as you can go and still reside in Oakland County. Groveland is unique in the fact that it has no school district of its own. It has no public library of its own. We rely on our neighboring larger townships for our public schools and libraries. Groveland encompasses residents that have had their children enrolled in Brandon, Holly, and even Goodrich schools located in Genesee County. Additionally, many of my neighbors, my family included, enroll our children in faith and tuition-based schools located in Clarkston, White Lake, and Grand Blanc. It would be important that North Oakland and Southern Genesee counties remain connected and intact, since our community schools are closely more aligned with one another than they are with the much larger school districts found in Southern Oakland County. Defining a community of interest should exceed beyond just the county lines, especially in a county as large and diverse as Oakland's. In closing, I believe that most Michigan citizens really are looking for what is fair and a transparent process that allows for all Michigan citizens to regain trust in our government, in our institutions, and confidence that an honest attempt was made to ensure that all of our voices will be represented. So thank you for all taking on this immense challenge and working together for all the citizens of Michigan.
Thank you, Lord, for taking the time to address the commission. 21.
Good evening. My name is Barb Yeagley, and I live in Troy, which is on the eastern border of Oakland County. First, I'd like to thank you for serving on this redistricting commission. Your mission at times must seem overwhelming, and I hope that I can be helpful. My community of interest includes my neighbors in southeastern Oakland County and western Macomb County, because this is where I spend most of my time. They have mapping programs that show you where you've been. It's amazing. I need to get out more. Our community, especially Troy, is very diverse. My neighbors come from many different countries. The neighbor across the street moved here from Pakistan. Next door to her lives a couple whose family came from India. My son's friends who graduated with him from the Troy schools came from both Taiwan and the People's Republic of China. And I think we really exemplify how to get along. I'm interested in compact political districts so that candidates of modest means can run for office. Our elected officials can consolidate their district offices with corresponding savings to the taxpayer, and so that our clerks are not unnecessarily burdened with multiple variants of ballots in order to comply with artificial constraints. So to the extent possible, I think each county should be within a single federal congressional district. Out of Michigan's 83 counties, only 3, Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb, have populations in excess of 768,000. They are the only ones that need to be partitioned. And what I would recommend for the state Senate and the state House is that you take a good look at the way they were drawn in October of 2001. They are very nicely drawn, and I think that it would accomplish a lot if you do that. Thank you.
Barb, thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts with the commission. As a reminder, if there are other things that you want to say or you speak and you want to say some more, please go and visit our public comment tool, www.michigan.gov/MICRC. I gave you a little intro, 22. The floor is yours.
Thank you for that. Hello, my name is Alan, and I'm a resident of West Bloomfield Township. I'm only 18 years old, which I think makes me one of the youngest people who's testified before you so far. I'm here today because of my hometown of West Bloomfield. West Bloomfield is a diverse community. We have a significant amount of Jewish, Chaldean, Muslim, Black, and Asian people like myself. We also have a lot in common with Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, and Kegel Harbor. We share municipal services, and these 3 communities plus West Bloomfield are all commonly referred to as Greater West Bloomfield. But for the past 10 years, Greater West Bloomfield has been cracked into 5 regions by State House, State Senate, and Congressional district lines. We weren't split up because we have too much population. West Bloomfield is a pretty average size for Metro Detroit Township, but we were still cut up. It's an open secret why this happened. The legislature wanted to dilute the political voice of people who look like me, as well as other religious and ethnic minorities in West Bloomfield. But the most egregious way that West Bloomfield was cracked in the last redistricting cycle was on the state house level. It's not anything fancy, but it was brutal. West Bloomfield was sliced right down the middle, and our western half and eastern half were each put into a Republican-leaning district. Gong War, Michigan called the splitting of West Bloomfield, quote, perhaps the most effective GOP gerrymander of 2011, end quote. I think it's pretty obvious that West Bloomfield is a textbook example of the kind of community that this commission was established to protect. West Bloomfield has been the victim of a brutal gerrymander for the past 10 years, and I truly hope that this commission will undo that gerrymander and reunite us. We deserve to have representatives in Lansing and Washington, D.C. who represent our interests in our community, not just the western 6 precincts of West Bloomfield. I've only been alive since 2002, which means that West Bloomfield has been split up like this for a majority of my life. I voted for the first time in November of last year in these unfair districts. I hope that when I vote for the second time, I'll be voting in a district that actually keeps my community together. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We appreciate you coming and representing the voice of the younger audience. 23.
Hello, my name is Doug Skubic. I live in the village of Holly. In my long life with white whiskers, I've lived anywhere from Royal Oak, Clawson, Pontiac, Flint. My wife is from Holly, so that is now where I reside. Commission, I'd like to thank you. The work you've done so far and the work you will do in the future. The task will not be easy. The burden is heavy. You have the support of the communities. Do not try to please everyone. You can't do it. It's impossible. Your task is large. You have my support and the support of many others. I will use a portal for specifics, but I did want to show you my support, my belief that you need to start fresh. Think about what you're doing. Err on the side of caution and believe that you do have the support that you need to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you for extending your support and sharing your comments with the commission. 23.
I'm 24.
So 24.
Okay.
You're right. You're right.
Okay.
I made you nervous for
I
no
had to look.
reason.
Okay. Yes,
Forget that I said that. 24.
Okay. My name is Cornelius Hooper, and I stay in Auburn Hills. And actually, this is the first format I've been to. I keep up with everything that's going on. And the first and foremost, I want to thank this committee because it's well needed. And I'm sure that you're up for the task because it's a big task. But I believe you can get it done and keep it in consideration the things that's been happening. And I'm not going to prolong this a long time, but the right committees together. There's a lot of concern going on. But I ask that you do the right thing in your redistricting. If you're going to redistrict where each individual is afforded the opportunity to vote. By that, I mean, don't put it in such a way where those individuals that have been voting don't have an opportunity to get to those polls and vote. That individual should have that choice. And again, I want to thank you for being together as a committee, but work diligently. You got my support, and I'll continue to go out and work for that and work for you. And hopefully when you put your committee together and redistrict, you do the right thing and take care of people. Thank you.
Cornelius, thank you so much. We value you just as much as you appreciate us. 25.
Good evening, and thank you to members of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Committee for this opportunity to speak on the importance of considering the city of Pontiac a community of interest. I'm Christopher Northcross, a member of the Northern Oakland County branch of the NAACP and a longtime resident of the city of Pontiac. Now, Pontiac is a diverse community of approximately 60,000 people, and it sharply contrasts in terms of racial, social, and economic makeup with its surrounding communities and with much of the rest of Oakland County. Therefore, at the county and state levels of redistricting, Pontiac must be considered a community of interest. Given the past history of the divide between Pontiac and many of the communities of Oakland County, things such as redlining, forced busing, other things, to not consider Pontiac a community of interest in drawing new voting districts will almost guarantee a regression of representation for people of color and poor people at the county and state levels. Personally, I also support incarcerated people being counted in the communities that they have come from. I thank you and applaud you for undertaking this great task.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission. 26, 27, and 28, remembering the odd numbers are here, even numbers are here. 26, 27, and 28. Doesn't look like we have a 26, 27. Are you walking? If there's 27, can you kind of raise your hand to, okay, yep, you're 27. I didn't know if it was you or the person behind you. 27, go ahead.
Yes, I'm 27. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name's Chris McBride, and I live in Waterford Township, Congressional District number 11. I recently moved here from Oakland Township, so I'm in a brand new congressional district. But I'm here tonight to make a few points on this very important topic. First of all, I want to say the main point I want to make is that we now have a great opportunity in front of us to do this the right way and to fix the ways of the past. We need to redraw our districts as compact and tight along clusters of shared commonalities or communities of interest that share economic issues, transportation, educational communities, religious communities, and etc. This is very important that these counties and these townships or neighborhoods are not split up as a congressional district. Your job is to keep it nonpartisan for the good of the people within a community. When I look at my district on a map, District 11, it's very strangely, oddly shaped, as I know many of them are currently. It looks like a capital letter F to me, which includes where I live in the Waterford, Clarkston area, and it skirts totally around the community of Pontiac. And it goes around and it picks up Birmingham and Troy. And then it goes from the north, like Milford area, and goes all the way down into Wayne County, like Wayne 11 is what they call it. And for me, I don't understand at all why it would go, you know, all the way from Milford, all the way down into Livonia. It just doesn't make any sense at all. So in closing, I just want to say that these congressional districts should look more uniform and regional like the counties. Please keep the districts compact with localized boundaries drawn around communities of interest. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission. 28.
I want to just thank the commissioners for doing this, and we've worked hard as voters, and I know now the job is on your backs to work hard, and I've seen you off to a great start. Thank you very much. I have lived my entire 74 years in the same suburban Detroit area, except for 6 years in my 20s. Through social and political interactions, I have seen a change in the social and political priorities of voter over the past 20 years. Over 12 years ago, these voices have emerged in a stronger number. This was highlighted by a Democrat winning the US Senate seat in 2008, a seat that had been held by Republicans for years. It was retained by a Democrat also in 2010, one of the few who retained his seats. The following year, after Republicans finished with their redistricting to the benefit of their party, these voices were drowned out for a number of years in both federal and state elections. And I leave you with the following, which you have already pointed out. According to the Michigan Constitution, the district shall not provide disproportionate advantage to any political party. And I will also say there are keywords that I think point to doing it fairly, and people that are using these words that hinder this process from happening. So thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission. 29.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Robbie Samples from Pontiac, Michigan. I've been a resident for almost 55 years. I first of all would like to thank you all for everything that you're doing, and I appreciate all of your hard work at this task. My message is very simple. Start fresh drawing new maps. Don't start with the old maps. They're a partisan gerrymander. Draw as many competitive districts as possible. Please make our election maps fair and equitable so all votes count. I thank you for everything, and I appreciate you.
Robbie, we appreciate you taking the time to share with the commission. 30.
Good afternoon. I'm City Councilman Randy Carter from the City of Pontiac.
And my concern is very brief, and it's not got anything to do with racial lines. The city of Pontiac is unique that it has a bunch of railroad tracks. And because it has railroad tracks, a lot of them, economically, the city of Pontiac has income tax. There are only 22 cities out of 2,000 in the state of Michigan that have income tax. And it's a hindrance to us and our business. At the same time, economically, people from Chicago can come to Pontiac. It's called Greyhound therapy. You can get on a bus or a train from Chicago and end up in Pontiac for $7 on a weekend. So we have vagrants here that we do not need here. I would appreciate if we can go through and move the Oakland County Jail to someplace. Oakland County has 61 cities. And within 61 cities, the township and villages, move the Oakland County Jail someplace else. The Department of Housing, the DHS is in Pontiac, is in Oak Park, and it's in Wall Lake. It needs to be dispersed someplace else. At the same time, the city of Pontiac has Pontiac School District, and the Pontiac School District exists in 9 cities. That's Pontiac, Auburn Hills, Orion, West Bloomfield, Lake Angela, Sylvan Lake, Bloomfield, Township, Waterford, Bloomfield, excuse me, I've repeated twice, 9 cities. And also out of that, the regional transportation, I have never supported it for the fact that it ends and starts in Pontiac. It does not go north. So if it's a train, if it's a bus or anything else for transportation, let it go somewhere beyond Pontiac. I do not want to be part of Greyhound therapy. I am sick and tired of vagrants who happen to stop in our city and make it look bad. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time consideration. It's been greatly appreciated.
Thank you so much for sharing with the commission this evening. At this time, we are going, if there are no objections, we will take a 5-minute recess. So we will return at 6:20. Get up, stretch, go to the restroom.
Rhonda, like I love her haircut. It looks so good.
All right, hello. Let's get back to those seats. Hopefully everyone got all of their self-care needs taken care of. We're ready to get back to business. I call this meeting to the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order, back to order at 6:28 p.m. For the purposes of the public record, I will have Michigan Department of State staff, Sarah Reinhardt, give a roll call. And Sarah, you have the floor.
Hi, commissioners. Please say present when I call your name. If you are attending the meeting remotely, please announce during roll call that you are attending the meeting remotely. And unless your absence is due to military duty, please state your location by stating the county, city, township, or village and the state from which you are attending the meeting remotely. I'll start with Doug Clark.
Present.
Juanita Curry.
Present.
Anthony Eade.
Present.
Brittany Kellum.
Present.
Rhonda Lang.
Present, attending remotely from Reed City, Michigan.
Steve Lett.
Present.
Cynthia Orton.
Present.
MC Rothhorn.
Present.
Rebecca Zatella. Present. Janice Follett.
Present.
Aaron Wagner.
Present, attending remotely from Charlotte, Michigan.
Richard Weiss.
Present.
Dustin Witches.
Present.
All commissioners are present.
Thank you so much, Michigan Department of State staff. We'll now continue with our in-person public comment. As a reminder, I will call your number. If you are present, you'll come up to the microphone and give your public comment to the commission. Excuse me. You will have 2 minutes. After your allotted 2 minutes has ended, you will hear a timer. A timer will also display on both screens to your left and to your right. And if there's something that you feel like you didn't get to say, something more you want to say, you want to include a map, just anything, please do visit our public comment tool located at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. And we'll have number 31. I'll call 31, 32, 33, 34. And the rest of the numbers can be on deck. Odd numbers over here, even numbers over here. Sorry, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard all that. Anyway, my time is.
Hold on, let's stop and start your timer over.
Oh, thank you.
Go.
Okay. My name's Jill Dunphy. I'm a 30-year resident of Rochester Hills, and I'm a proud member of the Rochester Pollinators, which is a group that works to create gardens that attract pollinators to yards and parks in the Rochester area. I'm not here to represent them tonight. I'm just here to represent myself as a resident of Rochester Hills, the safest city in Michigan. I think my frustration has been that my community is divided into at least 2 different congressional districts. I have a middle school within walking distance of my house, 2 blocks away, which is not in my congressional district. And I have neighbors north of me who are in yet another congressional district. Our district looks pretty uniform. It's pretty rectangular, but it is divided up in a way that is very unfair, I think, to all the communities involved. For instance, my congressional district includes Livingston County, which couldn't be more different from Rochester and the Rochester area, which is very rural. Rochester is very suburban, professional, a lot of green spaces, outdoor recreation, and Livingston County is more rural and further spread apart. My concerns include a lot of environmental issues. I think the Rochester area has pretty much grown to its limits, and I see pollution and our rapid growth impacting our infrastructure and transportation and quality of life to the point where it is no longer sustainable. And I think those issues need to be addressed, and those are not necessarily the issues of Livingston County. So I think those issues really need to be addressed through redistricting. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share with the commission. 32.
Hi, my name is Debbie Roseman, and I'm from Bloomfield Township, Michigan. Thanks so much for allowing us to speak tonight. The maps have been drawn in bad faith for 30 years, and I have lived that reality in Bloomfield Township. For as long as I can remember, I did not have a state representative or state senator who represented my interests or was even willing to dialogue with me about the issues. That was until 2018. After many months of hard work on elections, we flipped those seats to Democrats, Representative Mari Manoogian and Senator Rosemary Bayer. The same thing happened in the adjacent district of Senator Mallory McMorrow. This was despite the efforts of the Republicans drawing gerrymandered districts and trying to benefit themselves. Only recently have our communities of Birmingham and Bloomfield seen gains that need to continue to be recognized. We finally have representatives who are responsive to our concerns, highly visible and available to their constituents. We want to see fair districts drawn where voters choose their politicians, not the other way around. Then we will have elected officials who better care for their community's needs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your thoughts and insights and sharing with the commission this evening. 33.
Good evening. My name is Erica Goldston, and I am a resident of the city of Pontiac. And I'm going to echo some things that you already heard here today. But one, I would like you to consider Pontiac to be a community of interest. And you know what, I didn't start by thanking you for volunteering and the work that you've already done and the work that you plan to do. So let me back up and say that first. I want to be kind. The other thing that I would like for you to do is to consider a fresh start, to not look at where the maps are already or the old maps, but consider a fresh start. You've already heard about gerrymandering numerous times throughout the evening, so I won't belabor that subject, but I do ask that you draw as many competitive districts as possible. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission. We appreciate that. 34.
Hi, I'm Julianne Reyes, and I live in Rochester Hills, Michigan. And just recently, I joined Toastmasters. So I'm not very good at public speaking, but hopefully one day I will be. But everyone here is really good at speaking, and I've learned a lot from everyone. And I appreciate all of your guys' help, or all of your guys listening to us and hearing from us and doing this. This is going to be a hard job for you guys, I'm sure. As I mentioned, I live in Rochester Hills, and I want to just mention that I'd love to see that we would be in a nice, tight, compact group between Rochester Hills, Rochester, and even Oakland Township. I mentioned Toastmasters. All three areas of those groups are represented in that group, and I'm in several other clubs, and it seems like it's always Oakland Township, Rochester Hills, and Rochester. And a few of my neighbors have spoken already about how we share a library and the post office and OPC Center and different things like that. So it seems like these make sense. Another one of my neighbors had mentioned how the district looks so weird, and it weaves over to Lansing, and it doesn't make sense. And I don't know why this was done. Maybe gerrymandering. I don't know. Someone mentioned, well, let's not belabor the point, but let's not do that. Let's make it compact, make sense of it. I appreciate the gentleman that also said sometimes it's not going to make 100%. So I recognize that, but really work hard to make it fair. So thank you for all your hard work, and thank you for hearing from us.
Thank you for taking the time to address the commission. 35. I'm sorry, 35 has chosen not to speak, and I made note of that. 36.
Hello, good evening. My name is Georgia Dixon, and I just want to say I am a nobody. I'm not on any commission, no group, no nothing. But I will say that I'm 70 years old. I'm from Detroit, grew up in Detroit, went to Wayne State Night School for 7 years, walking down Cass Avenue. So I'm a Detroiter. I live in Bloomfield Township now, and I've been there for 33 years, and I hope to die there. It's my land now. It's my place of serenity, of peace for me. I've had a few bumps in the road like everybody else in this room has. And if you changed my land, my community, my neighborhood environment, it would be psychologically damaging to me. Okay? I chose where I'm living for a reason, and I want to keep it as it is. If I wanted a fresh start, I would move to Florida or Montana or, some other place where people are moving to from Michigan, but I don't want that. I love where I'm at. I haven't left, and I want you to keep things intact. Thank you very much for hearing me. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission. You are somebody. So thank you for sharing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those thoughts with us. 37, 38, 39, and 40. 37.
Yes, good. My name is David Michael. I'm a lifelong Pontiac resident, born and raised. I'd like to thank you all for being here. It's actually an honor to speak amongst a lot of concerned citizens. So thank you all very much. I'm just here to simply ask for fair and competitive district lines. If I should ever decide to run for office, I don't have any problem going to West Bloomfield, Auburn Hills, Waterford, asking for their votes, working hard to earn their trust. Any person running for office, no matter what their affiliation, should be able to go in any district, no matter if it's considered suburban, urban, or whatnot, racial divides or whatever. You should be able to talk to those people and earn that district, earn those people's vote. So please do the work that you're elected to do. I know it's a tough job, and we're looking forward to fair lines that make sense. Pontiac, we share borders, commerce with Auburn Hills, Waterford, West Bloomfield. We actually provide jobs to citizens from Auburn Hills, West Bloomfield, and Waterford, just as they do for citizens in Pontiac. So we shouldn't have to take long treks through swaths of nothing to get to the next person that looks like us to cast our vote, or to only campaign to people that look like us, or anyone. So please, fair, competitive lines. We appreciate that. Thank you.
David, thank you for addressing the commission this evening. 38. If 38 is not present, 39.
Hi, my name is Diane Danaskis. I live in Orion Township, Oakland County. Thank you for your service. It's wonderful that you volunteered to do this. It's more than I would take on to say. I'm here because, not for my own community only, but for municipalities in general. It's important that each municipality's citizens have the best access to government officials, and that the public officials who represent them understand their communities so that they can represent them to the best of their ability. For that reason, I ask that you give high priority to keeping municipalities intact with respect to voting districts. It should be our goal to clarify the election process. It should be our goal to unite communities, not to divide them. And one of the ways that we can do that is to keep them within the same congressional district, whenever possible, the same Senate district, House district, whenever possible, so that they can communicate effectively with their representatives, and their representatives can communicate effectively with them. A second point is that with the concern over voter security and ballot security, that lies in the hands of our municipal clerks. And one of the ways that I feel we can best ensure the voter integrity, the accuracy of our votes being counted, because I believe every person wants their vote counted accurately, is to honor municipal lines so that those clerks make sure that there is integrity in our voting process. Thank you again for your service.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission. 40.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Everett C. I'm from the city of Pontiac, Michigan. And I would first just like to commend the commission because you have a Herculean job, I'm telling you. What you're hearing today is from an astute crowd that people that are acutely aware of their needs not being met. And I have had the privilege of working in various organizations and even serving on the city council of Pontiac. And I've traveled throughout this state, and you have also. And one singular piece you're going to come out of this, no matter how you use the demographics or you're going to use the census tracts or lines or whatever, is that the people feel that they're not being heard no matter who's elected. And one thing that I think that you're going to have to press upon in your report is that whoever is elected, that they are elected by these people here. And the people are getting very frustrated that they are playing along political lines to the people needs. People have needs in this state and in all of this country. And I think that what you're doing, you're the ground force here. You're going to get a twofold on the demographics, on the census, on the diversity, but also what you're going to ascertain is that the people are quite frustrated with a system that has just been benign and doesn't even listen to them, no matter almost who's in it, Republican or Democrat. And I think that you have a beautiful chance here to bring that message home, and the way you draw the lines, because as Martin Luther King said, and I'll end with this quote. He said, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter." Thank you.
Everett, thank you for taking the time to address the commission this evening. 41.
Yes, one Detroit, one voice. My name is Jeff Shaper and I live in Troy. When the Civil Rights Act was implemented and 2 minority majority districts were created, Detroit population was 1.5 million and a congressional district population was 490,000. So it made sense to have 2 minority majority districts. Now Detroit's population has declined to 670,000 and a congressional district has grown to 752,000. Detroit now has less population than a congressional district. Over the years, to maintain the 2 minority majority districts, the lines have been drawn further and further away from Detroit until today we have the situation where the 14th district contorts itself to include Pontiac. These districts do a great disservice to both the citizens of Detroit and Pontiac. The concerns and needs of Detroit aren't the same as Pontiac. To expect a congressperson to ably serve both is very difficult. River Rouge pet Coke isn't something Pontiac really cares about, but South Detroit citizens do, and they're split between 3 districts. Out-of-state trash dumping impacts all of South Oakland, including Pontiac. South Detroit citizens don't really care about this. This problem is also split between 3 districts in South Oakland. This representation split has not served Detroit nor the other communities well. It is time to have one strong voice to represent Detroit. Detroit is losing population and influence and needs to be a strong, compact entity. Same with the other communities in Southeast Michigan. Your charter is to create compact communities of interest. Detroit has unique challenges and its voice needs to be united. I urge you to make Detroit one district so it can have one voice for the challenges that it faces. In other words, one Detroit, one voice. I'm Jeff Shaper and I approve of this message. Thank you.
Jeff, thank you so much for sharing your insights with the commission. 42.
You forgot that this was even, right? Yeah, because I was over there.
It's okay.
Hi, my name's Carol Garner, and I have been a resident of Oakland County and Commerce Township for 70 years. not 70 years, don't say that, no, actually 61. And my family's lived here and resided in the same property since 1939. So I think I'm fully vested in saying that all of our needs aren't being met. That's the problem. And I know you guys are going to think long and hard. And after listening to quite a few people in here, I realized that I need to go back to school to find out really what's happening. I know my voice counts and I vote every time. It doesn't make any difference if it's the dog catcher or the garbage guy. But I know that when people move into my area, they don't know how I am and I don't know how they are. And we need to start reaching across and saying, I have this issue, you have that issue. So I think you need to start fresh and new and take into account of various consideration, demographics, census, such. But I just wanted to thank you for the work you're doing, and I wish I was so brave. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. 43.
Oh, you can hear me now. Good.
Yep.
My name is Kent Douglas. I wanted to thank the commission for all the work you're doing. I know that you have a lot more work to do across the state with these hearings. I appreciate what you're doing right now. So I am a resident of Waterford and I've been there since 1996. My family has been in the Metro Detroit area since the 1920s, since they immigrated from Western Europe. So I'm a former candidate, and just to be completely transparent, I also happen to be the chair of the 11th Congressional District Democratic Party. And some of my observations of what's happened locally, I wanted to speak a little bit to the fact that just how toxic gerrymandering has been as far as political conversations in the district are concerned. As a local candidate, I can tell you that with every cycle, the conversation has significantly declined. This has had a major impact on the conversations of people locally and their ability to relate with each other and actually talk about the issues clearly. So as a result, what I'm asking is that the commission take a special eye, especially for communities like Waterford, which has been packed, cracked, and stacked in every way you can possibly imagine at the state Senate, state House, county commission levels for at least the last 2 decades, on the fact that the township itself is representative of about 72,000 people. It's evenly distributed between Republicans, independents, and Democrats, and has been for years. And that until this point, no one party has ever really been able to fully get a grasp on Waterford Township. That's why it gets cracked and stacked so often. So when you create a district, please keep that in mind, keep things contiguous and balanced. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenneth, for sharing with the commission. 44. Okay.
The case for proportional representation was made by John Stuart Mill in his 1861 essay, Considerations on Representative Government. In a representative body actually deliberating, the minority must of course be overruled. And in an equal democracy, the majority of the people through their representatives will outvote and prevail over the minority and their representatives. But does it follow that the minority should have no representatives at all? It is necessary that the minority should not even be heard. Nothing but habit and old association can reconcile any reasonable being to the needless injustice. In a really equal democracy, every and any section will be represented, not disproportionately, but proportionally. A majority of the electors would always have a majority of the representatives, but a minority of the electors would always have a minority of the representatives. Person for person, they would be as fully representative as the majority. Unless they are, there is not equal government. There is a part whose fair and equal share of influence and representation is withheld from them, contrary to all just government. But above all, contrary to the principle of democracy, which professes equality as its very root and foundation. In representative democracy, the representatives should represent all substantial segments of society. Our Constitution calls for representatives being apportioned among the several states according to the census. I urge you to reject the Hunting and Hill method and the DeHunt method in favor of Jefferson's method, which was the solution our founding fathers came up with to proportion them. You can use a divisor that is greater for the federal districts and then use a separate divisor that is equal representation, so we're all equally represented proportionally. This would end up, for example, using the 2010 census of 3 federal districts in Wayne County, with Detroit being its own contiguous compact, albeit concentric, of the 3 in the county. And then it goes on from there, and I'll submit my method for mathematics and geometrics to your website. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for providing comment to the commission. As a reminder, everyone can go to www.michigan.gov/MICRC to utilize our public comment tool, as well as when you're speaking, if you have maps that you don't mind sharing with us and you would like to give us, obviously you don't want to give us your phone, but you are welcome to approach and give us things that you don't mind us having or you want us to have. 45.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, committee, for allowing this time for us and myself to speak to you. My name is Gerald Lang. I live in Orion Township. I'm a 14-year resident of North Oakland County, previously from Saginaw County. I would like to acknowledge you and your time and service to what you're about to volunteer for in the state of Michigan and to ensure free and fair elections. I appreciate that. Thank you. This nonpartisan or bipartisan committee has a great opportunity to eliminate the ever-growing mistrust in our electoral process. We can easily look to Michigan's 14th U.S. Congressional District as an example of packing, stacking, and creating an opportunity to increase partisan win probabilities at state and even the U.S. majority levels. U.S. state level elections have seen a partisan majority of up to 67% of a trifecta from 2010 to 2018. And even in 2018, it was at 52%. So I know that's very important for what our state is about to accomplish. The responsibility that falls on your shoulders is to adequately create fairness in our electoral process, and I wish you the greatest of luck. Today's political tribalism has left some Michiganders and Americans to believe only in a side, quote unquote, rather than actual equality in elections. It's unfortunate, but I'm excited to see the decisions that you and the committee can make. The commonality amongst our families, friends, and neighbors should be adequately represented in Lansing and Washington, D.C., not specific political partisanship because of who falls in majority every 10 years. Thank you again for your time and what your decisions will surely lead to, which is fairness in American and Michigan elections. I thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your comments with the commission. 46.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Catherine Desro. I live in Pontiac. I minister in Pontiac, and I've been a resident of Oakland County since I was 12 years old. So I'm pretty familiar with how Pontiac has become the most disenfranchised city in Michigan. Redlining must stop. Gerrymandering, you can call it whatever you want. It's racial bigotry, and it's time it stopped. Pontiac is the county seat, but the buildings that are empty in Pontiac can't be used. We have nothing in common with the cities in our district. Every district, every city around us that's in our district is a white middle-class district, part of the district. It just doesn't make sense that we're part of this. We need to be looked at realistically. We need to sensibly draw the lines. I have to echo what Councilman Carter spoke about. The train stops in Pontiac. I run a feeding program there with my son. And I can tell you that they put them on the train in Chicago and they say, send them to Pontiac, Michigan. They'll feed them there. We have a rep for being the city that feeds the indigent and the hungry because we have so many. Help us out.
Thank you, Reverend Catherine, for sharing your comments with the commission. We appreciate that. 47.
Hello there. My name is Scott Stewart, and I first want to sincerely thank you all for hosting this meeting in Pontiac. It definitely means a lot more than you might even know. I also thank you for listening for like 2.5 hours because y'all aren't elected officials. So you ain't used to this. So I know I probably would go home and take a long nap. But anyway, Pontiac, I live there as well. It's an amazing community, but unfortunately, you know, as many in this room have said, has been left behind for far too long and ignored, particularly due to the way that the districts are drawn. You know, I think second, we need to start brand new with our districts. The way that they're drawn now just is not meaningful for where people live, what our interests are, and all of that. And so these districts extend through so many communities. It's impossible for someone to make any sort of meaningful headway, whether you're running, whether you're representing that district, to actually make a difference and hear all those residents' concerns. And thus that actually leads to people's voices being unheard and people being disenfranchised. I urge you to think about Pontiac as a community of interest. It is also critical, I think, to recognize the major changes that Oakland County has gone through over the last 10 years. And so please make sure that you recognize that piece and that is recognized in our new districts. And finally, please just make sure that every voice counts. Every district should be competitive. There should be no disenfranchising through the districts. And everybody should be able to have a fair voice. And right now that is not possible. So thank you very much, as always, and have a great night.
Scott, thank you for taking the time to address the commission. 48. If 48 is not present, we'll move to 49. (48) and 49 are hiding together. We will move to 50.
Hi, I'm Michael Johnson from Bluefield Township, and I guess I should take this off so you can hear. My ask is that you consider housing subdivisions as a community. I understand that, so once you draw the macro boundaries, if you could zoom in to the micro level and look and see if you're splitting housing subdivisions. I recognize that you have a lot of criteria for drawing these boundaries and compromises are going to be required. And that may include sometimes splitting those subdivisions, but if as much as you can to consider trying to keep a housing subdivision as part of one community. And lastly, I'd just like to say thank you for your service. It's a tough job and we appreciate your efforts on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share your thoughts with the commission. We will move to 51. If 51 is not present, 52.
Good evening, Justin Winkleman, Bloomfield Township. Members of the commission, I request that Birmingham, Bloomfield Township, and the city of Bloomfield Hills should be together in the same districts you draw. The metro region knows Birmingham, Bloomfield area, and that's how many of the residents also associate the area they live in. For example, the C&G newspaper's Eagle covers Birmingham and Bloomfield, whereas the Observer and then Centric, that used to exist, had Birmingham and Bloomfield edition as well. Birmingham and Bloomfield Hills school districts overlap between the three communities, and those two school districts should be in the redrawn districts, with significant sections of Bloomfield Township and the city of Bloomfield Hills having Birmingham schools. Prior to having their own zip codes, the mailing and city for Bloomfield used to be a Birmingham city mailing address with the zip 48010. So residents lived in Bloomfield Township and had a Birmingham mailing. This was as recent as the late 1990s. Also, last I knew, there was a library resource sharing agreement between Birmingham and Bloomfield Township libraries. Furthermore, the city of Bloomfield Hills has a millage that goes to Birmingham for Baldwin Library use. All three communities have Woodward Avenue running through them and participate in the Dream Cruise management and enforcement. Right now, there are two different congressional districts among these three communities, Bloomfield Township in the 9th and Birmingham and the city of Bloomfield Hills is in the twisting and oddly shaped 11th. Same goes for state Senate districts with Bloomfield Township in the 12th and Birmingham and the city of Bloomfield Hills oddly carved out into the 13th. This fractionalized representation the last decade has not been ideal for the community. However, State House District 40 includes all three communities. Overall, I request compact districts, especially in the Metro Detroit area. I feel the population of all districts, Congressional, Senate, State House, and Senate, should have populations as close as possible to each other. I also do not feel municipalities should be split up unless their population exceeds the size for a single district to be drawn. And then in those cases, that district should be compact. Thank you very much.
Justin, thank you for taking time to address the commission. 53.
Hello, my fellow Michiganders. Great to see all these smart, concerned people and all of you here to help us do a great job with our beautiful state and right some of the wrongs that have happened over time. It's a simple thing with taxation without representation, and we actually have that now. I'd encourage you to simply look at population centers, cities, as you've heard over and over again, compact, logical districts that don't veer off with politicians choosing their voters. It's really time to get back to a great democracy here in Michigan where we pick our politicians and they report to a great constituency that reflects them. I'm so grateful that this passed, or you wouldn't be sitting here. It took a great effort to make that happen. I hope we're all grateful that we have the opportunity to do this. I think I looked and all of you have pretty big shoulders and we're really counting on you to be fair, to not be swayed, and to do your best for our communities. You make a huge difference. I'm so proud to be part of the state of Michigan. Love it dearly for 40 years. And I'm hoping that all of you do too, and will choose to make districts that represent the communities that they're in. How simple and how wonderful that is. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have a tough job, but the commission and our big shoulders hopes to make each one of you semi-happy. So 54.
The other one, so come to this one. I'm Kelly Garrett. I am the mayor of Lathrop Village, and I'm also the state director for Karen Action. And I'm actually here representing Karen Action today more so than my city, but I'll get to that in a second. So for Karen Action, I represent domestic workers. To give you an idea of what a domestic worker is, pretty much they're the people that allow us all to be able to work. Those are our nannies, those are our housekeepers, those are the people that take care of our elderly parents and family members. And they already are not represented. They already are having issues with getting the rights like every other worker has. So Karen Action represents 2.5 million domestic workers across the country. In Michigan, I represent 63,000 domestic workers in Michigan. That is a major voting block of Black women and women of color. I'll let that sink in for a moment to see that that is a huge voting block that can be swayed any kind of way, but they need representation and they need to have fairly drawn maps that are competitive where they can be represented from people that care about them, people that care enough to be focused on the vulnerable, which would be them. Because sometimes those vulnerable people are the very ones that need us and we need them because they're the ones that keep Michigan working. So that's for domestic workers and for Care in Action. For Lathrop Village, right now we're intact. We are in the 14th district and what I like to call the stiletto, and I happen to like stilettos, but in this sense, I do not. So I am only hoping, because I know being an elected official is a very hard position to be in. And as usual, when you put a microphone in front of an elected official, they never know when to stop. So thank you for your service. And I know this will be hard. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share your comment with the commission. Please go to our public comment tool and continue the rest of your sentence at www.michigan.gov/MICRC 55.
Good evening, Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and welcome to Oakland County. My name is Jordan Smelly. I'm a resident of Ferndale, southeast corner of the county. I'm actually going to see you again next week. I'll see you in Detroit at both of your dates. But I wanted to share a different set of opinions with you tonight that just came up as I listened to other speakers. I really just wanted to talk to you about your prioritized conditions that you're pursuing as you draw these maps as laid out in the constitutional amendment that voters approved so overwhelmingly. There are 7 conditions, as you know, I'm preaching to the choir here, but Michiganders chose 5 of those. The first 2 weren't really up to us. We have to comply with federal law and we have to comply with federal law. Those were non-negotiable. Those are 1 and 2. But 3 through 7, the people of Michigan chose to put them in the order that we did. And what did they put at the top of that prioritized list? Communities of interest. The voters of Michigan approved that constitutional amendment, specifically saying communities of interest are the most important thing that we have control over. And what's at the bottom of the list? Jurisdictional lines and compactness. Now, those are both on the list. They didn't get left off entirely. They are both important enough to be on the list of 7, but neither of them were important enough to be pursued at the expense of anything higher up, like communities of interest. So I know that compactness is, of course, the most visible and the most easily evaluated of the prioritized conditions from anyone that's going to take a casual glance at the draft maps that you put out. And it's going to be easy for folks to complain about non-compact maps, but that doesn't mean that you did a bad job. And I don't want you to back down off of that. I want you to stick to your guns. Same goes with following jurisdictional lines. It's easy to see if my community got a line drawn down the middle of it, but that's not the highest priority. The community is, and jurisdictional lines do not always accurately reflect equal or equitable communities of interest. So thank you for sticking to your guns and following that list of 7 priorities as you do your work. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. 56, 57, 58, and 59. 56, 57, 58, and 59. Okay. Number 58 and 59, if you do not want to stand while they speak, you do not have to. You can sit right there. Sit right there. It's okay, sit down. Okay. Yeah, just sit down. Hold on, I have to call 56. So 50, you'll go after 58. Yep, 56.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kenyatta Bowman. I am a resident of Pontiac, and I'm also on the school board, and I serve as the vice president. I just ask, as a resident, that you please consider stopping the gerrymandering, and also when you draw the lines, that they're fair and equitable. The citizens of Pontiac, we deserve fairness, and we deserve for the lines to be drawn in an equitable way so that we all can prosper the way we're supposed to. So I thank you all very much and have a good evening.
Thank you for addressing the commission and have a good evening. 57.
My name is Ann Delisle. I come actually from Genesee County. I missed our Flint meeting, so I took the opportunity to come and speak with you tonight. I am from Grand Blanc Township in Genesee County, and I am here tonight to fight for Genesee County. There is some arguing that has come out that Flint ought to be splintered into all surrounding municipalities in Genesee County. This is wrong because people know that splitting up Flint will make all other communities subservient to Flint and take away the unique interests of all other cities, townships, and villages, leaving 309,000 Genesee County residents without an equal voice. I'm a mother from the suburb of Grand Blanc Township, and there's even talk that our school districts are going to be splintered when that happens, making 2 representatives in the same school district with competing interests. That is not good for our students, and it's not in the best interest of our students throughout the entire county. I asked the commission to keep each municipality to itself, even down to each individual school district. The suburbs of Flint are very similar to Lapeer County, and I would personally like to see the 5th district join Lapeer County because the suburbs are our suburbs of Genesee County mirror that of Lapeer County. We have very similar interests to Lapeer County. Our farmers, our rural residents, our suburbs deserve an equal voice. There's 406,000 residents in Genesee County, and only 96,000 live in Flint proper. So I would appreciate that you keep our municipalities intact and help Genesee County keep an equal voice. I appreciate your time and the task you have before you, and I thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming to share your comments with the commission. 58.
Good evening, Board. Burke Cuney, Rochester Hills, an 80-year plus veteran of our fine state, loving it here. And so good of you all to lend your ears to people like us that pay the taxes just like you do. And sometimes boards like yours have forgotten what taxes do when there are differencing allocations by districting. And rather than thinking about whether the power of the party will diminish or be strengthened in this area, should not be the major front, which is oftentimes, in my opinion, happened. So, Rochester Hills, Rochester Hills share the same school system, the same library, and even for me, the Old Persons Center, which is massive and supported by both Rochester Hills, Troy, and the neighboring communities. What can I say? Those are twin cities. We certainly hope that they're not split in half. Thank you.
Burke, we appreciate you sharing your thoughts with the commission. 59.
Yes, thank you. My name is Constance Cumby, and I live in Orion Township, and I'm an activist out there now. I was an activist in Detroit for many years, well enough that I knew the Curry family, Jackie and Carmen, Charmy. I don't know if the Curry up here is related, but they were dear friends of mine many years ago. He was a county commissioner, and she was the city clerk of Detroit. Succeeded Mr. Bradley, whose attorney I happen to be. I'm now out in Orion Township. I was a city rat, but we moved out there because my husband had a terrible accident in 1979, lost both legs above the knee. And Barry died last November, but we moved out there because he took a job as a social worker out in Oakland County. And the drive was just too much for him in the car with hand controls. So that landed us in Orion Township, which was, of course, a very different environment than Detroit, which was very familiar and friendly turf to me. now that I'm accustomed and active and acclimated out there, it occurs to me that Orion Township, Oxford, where my grandchildren now live and go to school, Rochester Hills, Oakland Township, and Rochester itself and Auburn Hills are so bound together. I think they need to be within one congressional district. And how bound together they are, I have Alexa. Alexa wakes me up in the morning. I also have Google Home. And when I ask Alexa, what's the weather today? They say, here in Auburn Hills, the weather is such. And I live in Orion Township. Alexa can't tell the difference. I ask Google Home the same question, same time. Here in Orion Township, Charter Township, this is the weather. And I think the communities are very much bound together, and I think they probably should be together in one district. And that's all I have to say on it today. I appreciate your being here and the hard work you're doing on it. And having worked in government many, many years ago, I've been an attorney for the last 46 years. But having worked in government, Michigan legislature, and I saw the battles over redistricting every 10 years when the census would come up. And so I know what a job you have, and thank you for doing it. And I'm sure you're going to do it very well.
Thank you so much for taking the time to address the commission. We appreciate you. At this time, at number 59, that was our last in-person comment for the public hearings. We'll now move to our remote public comments. We encourage you all to stick around, of course. If you can't, that's perfectly fine. If you are leaving, please do visit our public comment tool and continue to contribute in the conversation there. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide live remote public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. I will call your name to the best of my ability. So please do correct me if I mess up your first or last name. It is not on purpose. I will call your name and our staff will unmute you. If you are on a computer, you will be prompted by the Zoom app to unmute your microphone and speak. If you are on the phone, a voice will say that the host would like you to speak, not the host is going to speak, and prompt you to press *6 to unmute. I will call on you again by your name. And please note that if you experience technical or audio issues or we don't hear from you for 3 to 5 seconds, we will move on to the next person in line and then return to you after they are done speaking. If your audio still does not work, you can email redistricting@michigan.gov and we will help you troubleshoot so you can participate during the next public comment period or at a later hearing or meeting. You will have 2 minutes to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when your 2 minutes has ended and you hear the timer. Please go to the public comment tool and share your comments in writing, including any specific area of the map in which you are speaking. Again, the public comment tool is located at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. We have 2 virtual participants for live public commentary. The first is Dan Love. Dan Love, allow a couple of moments for staff to unmute you.
Hello.
Yep, Dan, we can hear you.
Hey, you got my name right. Perfect. Thank you. So my name is Dan Love. I'm a lifelong Michigan resident. I currently live in Waterford Township. I'm a public elementary school teacher for the Walled Lake Consolidated Schools. I want to thank you for your time and commitment to serve on this important commission. Your service will ensure that we have representatives in our state government that reflect all of the residents of our great state. As I said, I'm an elementary school teacher. Helping young people understand fairness and equity is one of the most important things we do. That's why the very idea of creating this commission made so much sense to me. On the surface, the concepts of voting and elections are pretty basic. Citizens cast their ballots. The person who receives the most votes is the winner. When we look deeper, though, we know that not every vote has the same value. When we have districts strategically drawn to consolidate votes for a particular party, it lessens the value of those votes. To be truly equitable and fair, the vote of every citizen must have the same value. One of the great joys of being a teacher is that my career allows me to have beginnings and endings each school year. My ending is tomorrow. Woohoo! We come together and create our classroom community. We figure things out, we mess up and learn from our mistakes. By the end of the year, we're able to have some closure with our classes as we reflect on our time together. The next year, we start from scratch. We're ready to go to get to work to create our classroom community once again. We're armed with what we learned from the prior years, but we have the luxury of a fresh start. I would encourage this commission to take advantage of this opportunity to use the luxury of this fresh start. Please start with brand new maps. Use this chance to create something new, something fair, something competitive that reflects the will of the voters. Please don't be satisfied to either keep the current lines or make slight adjustments. Please embrace this unique opportunity. Thank you once again for your service and the opportunity to speak this evening.
Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to share in our public comment period and speaking to us virtually. Have a good evening. Our second and final remote public comment for this evening is Ellen Dorshow-Gordon. Ellen, allow a few moments for staff to unmute you.
Hi, hello?
Yep,
Can
Ellen,
you
we
hear
can
me?
hear you. Yes.
Okay, but you can't see me.
No, we can't see you, but it's totally up to you now. Yep.
There I am.
Hi,
No, I just
Ellen.
never hit it. Hi, you gotta, okay. I am also a resident of Pontiac. We seem to be out full force. I am a retired epidemiologist, had the privilege of working at the Oakland County Health Department, the Kalamazoo County Health Department, and then I went to Missouri and was at Jackson County Health Department, and I'm really glad to be back in Michigan. I am going to talk about my favorite subject, data. And one of the things that I want to point out is that communities of interest are included in the census data. There is one called Quick Facts. You can get the US states, cities, and zip codes, and some information on age, sex, race, and Hispanic origins, population characteristics. If you go to the site, you'll be able to see that. The other one is census by city and town population, and that actually gives you interim data that was done annually by people who work for the Census Bureau, but it's done the way we would do an outbreak investigation, and it's randomized surveys, and they're very accurate. I really wasn't sure until I worked with that data for, well, many, many years. I want to thank you for all the work that you've done and for working through the pandemic. It was really hard to be out of the system and retired when this pandemic was going on. There is another site that I will send to you, as well as this information on the web on your site. It wasn't working well, and sometimes the Census Bureau has problems with their sites. So thank you again for giving me this time.
Ellen, thank you so much for sharing your insights and the information with the commission this evening. At this time, we are done with both our in-person and remote public comment, and we'll move to the acknowledgement portion in our agenda, and that would come to us by our General Counsel, Julianne Pastula, if there are no objections. Hearing no objections, General Counsel, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you again to Pontiac and to this area for welcoming us so warmly tonight and all of your important feedback that you provided. I'd like to also extend acknowledgements to both the League of Women Voter Volunteers that helped to make this event a success, as well as Voters Not Politician volunteers who also contributed greatly to make this event such a success. As the chair has reminded us throughout the evening, please visit our website and our public comment portal at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. And thank you again for attending this evening.
Thank you, General Counsel. At this time, there are no more items on the agenda, and the commission has no further business. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Witches. Can I have a second? The second made by, say it on your mic.
Juanita Curry.
Second made by Juanita Curry. All those in favor of adjournment, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. All those opposed, raise your hand and say nay. The ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned at 7:27. Everyone be well, travel well, and thank you so much for coming.